dropped it, and went on to other things. By then, however, various publishing houses were beginning to put out hard-covered science fiction books. One such house was a small firm, Gnome Press. They published my Foundation series in 3 volumes: Foundation, 1951, Foundation and Empire, 1952, and Second Foundation, 1953. They became known as the Foundation Trilogy. The books did not do very well, for Gnome Press did not have the capital with which to advertise and promote them. I got neither statements nor royalties from them. In early 1961, my then editor at Doubleday, Timothy Seldes, told me he had received a request from a foreign publisher to reprint the Foundation books. Since they were not Doubleday books, he passed the request on to me. I shrugged my shoulders. "Not interested, Tim. I don't get royalties on those books." Seldes was horrified, and instantly set about getting the rights to the books from Gnome Press, which was, by that time, moribund, and in August of that year, the books, along with I, Robot, became Doubleday property. From that moment on, the Foundation series took off, and began to earn increasing royalties. Doubleday published the trilogy in a single volume, and distributed them through the Science Fiction Book Club. In the 1966 World Science Fiction Convention held in Cleveland, the fans were asked to vote on a category of the best all-time series. It was the first time, and so far the last, the category had been included in the nominations for the HUGO Award. The Foundation Trilogy won the award. Increasingly, fans kept asking me to continue the series. I was polite, but I kept refusing. Still, it fascinated me that people who had not yet been born when the series was begun had managed to become caught up in it. Doubleday, however, took the demands far more seriously than I did. They had humored me for 20 years, but as the demands kept growing in intensity and number, they finally lost patience. In 1981, they told me that I simply had to write another Foundation novel and, in order to sugarcoat the demand, offered me a contract at 10 times my usual advance. Nervously, I agreed. It had been 32 years since I had written a Foundation story, and now I was instructed to write one 140,000 words long, twice that of any of the earlier volumes, and nearly 3 times as long as any previous individual story. I reread the trilogy and dived into the task. Foundation's Edge was published in October 1982, and then a very strange thing happened. It appeared in the New York Times bestseller list at once. In fact, it stayed on that list for 25 weeks, to my utter astonishment. Doubleday at once signed me up to do additional novels, and I wrote 2 that were part of another series, the Robot novels. And then it was time to return to the Foundation. So I wrote Foundation and Earth, which begins at the very moment that Foundation's Edge ends. It might help if you glanced over Foundation's Edge just to refresh your memory, but you don't have to. Foundation and Earth stands by itself. I hope you enjoy it. Isaac Asimov, New York City, 1986. Part 1. Gaia. Chapter 1. The Search Begins. 1. "Why did I do it?" asked Golan Trevize. It wasn't a new question. Since he had arrived at Gaia, he had asked it of himself frequently. He would wake up from a sound sleep in the pleasant coolness of the night and find the question sounding noiselessly in his head like a tiny drumbeat. Why did I do it? Why did I do it? Now, though, for the first time, he managed to ask it of Dom, the Ancient of Gaia. Dom was well aware of Trevize's tension, for he could sense the fabric of the councilman's mind. He did not respond to it. Gaia must in no way ever touch Trevize's mind, and the best way of remaining immune to the temptation was to painstakingly ignore what he sensed. "Do what, Trev?" he asked. He found it difficult to use more than one syllable in addressing a person, and it didn't matter. Trevize was growing somewhat used to that.